you ever look at the world and just get this deep sense of dissatisfaction? You know, the feeling that things are just broken. The criminals get away with everything while good people suffer. That the world is simply run by the wrong people. Well, if you have, you are definitely not alone. In fact, that feeling right there, it's the first step on a dangerous but really fascinating psychological journey we're about to explore. So that quote, it actually comes from an analysis of a character named LightYagami from the anime DeathNote. He's this brilliant but totally bored high school student who stumbles upon a notebook that lets him kill anyone just by writing their name in it. And his story? Wow, it gives us a perfect modern blueprint for a very, very old and destructive pattern, the God complex. So, how does someone go from wanting to fix the world to wanting to rule it? It's a slow burn, a gradual process that doesn't start with malice, but with a powerful, almost seductive kind of idealism. Yeah, the starting point for someone like Light isn't some evil plan. It's usually a mix of being really, really smart and just deeply frustrated. They see all the flaws in the system, they see how predictable people are, and they see all the injustices that go unpunished. This isn't about being lazy, it's a restless mind that, when it doesn't have a real challenge, starts to think, hey, maybe I'm the solution. And boom, there it is. That is the thought that changes everything. It's the core belief. It starts as just a wish, an ambition, but when that ambition gets fueled by this unchecked confidence with no humility to balance it out, it morphs into something much, much darker. It becomes a conviction. So what's actually going on here on a psychological level? Well, there's a clear, almost predictable path that takes someone from being a would-be savior to a self-proclaimed judge, and yet it has an aim. A God complex, it isn't about literally claiming you're God. It's about assuming the role of a god. It's that moment when a person stops judging themselves and instead makes themselves the ultimate judge of everyone else. They start to believe that morality is theirs to decide and that their actions, no matter how extreme, are justified because it's for justice. The academic term for this is hubris. It's an ancient idea, and it describes an arrogance so profound that the person basically loses touch with reality. They see themselves as superior, and because of that, they think they're exempt from the rules that govern the rest of us. This isn't just confidence. It's a belief that you literally cannot be wrong. And the path itself can be broken down into 4 steps. First, it starts with that discontent with the world we talked about. Then, that morphs into a belief that you are smarter, more capable, just better than everyone else. This leads to absolute moral certainty, this total conviction that you are right with zero room for doubt. And the final step? You assume the absolute authority to act on that certainty. Okay, so LightYagami might be a fictional character, but the psychological pattern he follows is anything but. This journey is absolutely timeless. It shows up in stories and histories from thousands of years ago, where powerful figures face the exact same choice when they were confronted with a truth they just didn't want to hear. To see just how timeless this is, we can look at 2 really powerful examples from religious texts. The stories of Pharaoh and a man named Qarun, well, they show us exactly what happens when this kind of hubris gets challenged. So, when the prophet Musa, or Moses, confronted Pharaoh with divine miracles, Pharaoh had a choice. He could have acknowledged a power greater than his own, or he could protect his ego. He chose his ego. Instead of seeing truth, he just dismissed it as magic, a cheap trick meant to undermine his authority. His pride made it impossible for him to accept a reality where he wasn't the top dog. And then you've got the story of Qarun. He was this incredibly wealthy man from Musa's own people. When he was told to be grateful and use his wealth for good, his response was just pure hubris. He said his fortune was only because of his own knowledge and skill. In his mind, there was no room for luck, no divine blessing, no responsibility to anyone else. His success was all him, which just cemented his belief that he was superior. So whether we're talking about a modern anime character, an ancient king, or a wealthy tycoon, the endpoint of this journey is always, always the same. There's a universal price for playing God, and it unfolds in a tragically predictable way. First up, isolation. The moment you place yourself above humanity, you disconnect from it. People stop being your equals. They become either followers you control or obstacles you need to remove. Real, genuine connection becomes impossible. And from that isolation, tyranny is born. Because confidence without compassion, well, that inevitably becomes tyranny. That belief that if I don't do it, no one will, is the first step toward oppression. The mission stops being about helping people and starts being about forcing them into your version of a perfect world. Next, the original mission just gets corrupted. That noble goal of fixing the world gets replaced by a much simpler one: hold on to power at all costs. Suddenly, power isn't the tool anymore, it becomes the whole point, and any action, no matter what, is justified if it helps you keep it.
And finally, downfall. Every single one of these stories, whether it's LightYagami, Pharaoh, or Qarun, ends in self-destruction. In trying to become more than human, they lose the very humanity they were trying to perfect. Their own arrogance becomes the engine of their ruin.
So, what's the point of all this? What can we actually learn from these stories? I mean, how do we use our ambition and our confidence without falling into that same trap of arrogance and tyranny? It really is all about walking a very, very fine line. And the difference is absolutely crucial. See, healthy ambition is built on confidence, sure, but it's driven by purpose, and it keeps you connected to other people. Destructive hubris, on the other hand, is built on arrogance. It's not driven by purpose, but by this absolute certainty that you know best, and it always, always leads to isolation. The difference really comes down to humility and compassion. And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. Trusting yourself is a powerful tool. Believing in your own ability can genuinely change the world for the better. But the moment that confidence turns into a belief that you are the final judge of right and wrong, well, the breaking point is just around the corner. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. We all want to make a difference, right? To leave our mark. But how do we make sure that in our quest to build a better world, we don't end up losing the very thing that makes it worth saving in the first place?